So the first topic we're talking about today is the Las Vegas Convention Center, the underground tunnels that the Boring Company dug out so that they can move people between convention center halls. And I have a short video to show you guys for that actually right now. So just 1 second.
Hey there, Shep. Well, as you descend the escalator into the Loop station, you see the Teslas waiting to whisk you into a tunnel 43 feet below ground. Now, you might think, all right, it's like a subway. But this is more like a highway underground. And because it's Las Vegas, this is also a thrill ride. The Las Vegas Convention Center Loop is part thrill ride, part light and sound show, but mostly just a commute across a sprawling convention center.
If there's a show going on and you've got a lot of traffic in the convention center, it can be a 45-minute walk from one end to the other.
The Loop gets you there in less than 2 minutes. Here's how it works. You enter the station and call for a Tesla.
The system operates like an Uber or a Lyft, where you have an app on your phone, you say, I'm here, I want to go there, car comes up, has an identifier on it that matches with what is on the app on your phone.
Passengers don't have to make multiple stops because there are multiple exits. You go directly to your station of choice. The convention center has 3, but plans are in the works to build a Loop system citywide. I'm looking right now. I mean, there's the Ferris wheel, there's the new Sphere under construction. The stadium is out there somewhere waiting to be used. Are you saying that eventually this Loop is going to connect people from the airport to downtown to the stadium and everywhere in between?
It will, and that eventually is not that far away.
Construction on this Loop was completed in 2 years for a cost of less than $53 million, including the stations. It's designed to handle 4,400 people an hour with 62 cars. Right now, with drivers, but soon they'll be autonomous. And what happens in Vegas likely won't stay in Vegas.
Any place that has congestion issues needs to move people and really can't just keep expanding roadways. Is going to want to look at a system like this because it really makes a difference.
Look, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, D.C. to Baltimore, hey, Los Angeles to Las Vegas. That's a 4-hour-plus drive that stretches into a 9-hour parking lot on some days. All of this is under consideration for a Loop. In Las Vegas, more than 40 destinations have raised their hands saying, yep, we want a station, we'll build it. They're thinking, if you build it, they will come.
And
So
I bet they will. Contessa, thank you.
Okay, guys. So obviously, this is the current implementation of the Hyperloop. So this is actually correcting myself. It's not the Hyperloop. It's the Tesla Loop. The Hyperloop is a different train system that decompresses air, and it's compressed air trains. So we're actually going to go ahead and take some immediate impressions and comments. So Jay, what do you have to say about this? What do you have to say about this convention center Loop right now?
I'm all over the place.
So let me narrow it down for you. So what are your first impressions? Do you think that this is something realistic? Do you think there's something practical? Do you think that this is a solution, or is it BS?
Yeah, it's like this is like beta testing, right, of a concept. I don't see this as like anything surprising. I don't see it as anything that impressive, to be honest. The cost, she said $53 million for a station. If you look at the economics, right, of let's say Korea, how much Korea spends to get stuff to, we won't talk cost, but we'll talk about speed. Korea does things quickly. Mexico can do things quickly, Texas can do things really quick. But when we talk about cost of infrastructure, California, that would have been a $400 million station minimum, 500, easy. They did it for 53, and the Loop including station, that's amazing. If that can be done, now we're not even talking about red tape. If it can be done, it is cheap. The other thing is infrastructure, right? Comparing it to light rail, comparing it to any kind of rail, you're not adding a rail. Adding a rail also has limitations as far as getting vehicles in and out of that loop. They literally just made a road underground. You also have to keep in mind there's no hills, and there's a minimum amount of existing issues underground. They don't have trees. They don't have years and years of sewer systems to contend with. It was the right place.
Alberto, what do you think about not the implications, but what do you think about, Alberto, tell me your thoughts.
I mean, just adding to what Jay said, and then maybe expanding a little bit. I mean, there's definitely going to be challenges on the way, but you're not going to know until you try, right? During that whole video, the first thing I noticed, I didn't see any charging stations at all. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but I didn't see any down or above in the station, so I'm kind of curious on that. I really like what Jay said about, you know, how many cars you're starting with and how much people it's going to actually move. Like you actually need to, they're going to need hundreds of cars. Um, but in retrospect to what he said, I mean, I would say it's gonna, it's probably gonna increase upon demand, right? The more demand, the more people waiting in line, probably to add more cars. But it's gonna have its limits. There's gonna be limitations. What's gonna happen when a car breaks down? It's still a vehicle. It still has four rubber tires. It still have brakes. It still has to remain safe. I also agree on what Jay said on like it's simple. It's very cost effective. He's absolutely right. You don't have to maintain a rail system. You don't have to design a whole rail cart or system. It's just a car going through a tunnel. The simplicity of it is what makes it actually pretty neat and efficient. I I would like to see it personally. I would like to go. Not too far from Vegas. Maybe I'll stop by. I'm kind of curious if it's open right now.
What's funny is my early thoughts were not just monorail, but like at Dallas Fort Worth Airport, they have the people mover. Think of how they're using that, right? So if you're planning to long term, if you're planning to shift a large amount of your people into that system, you need massive capacity per run. The people mover itself is like a big Tesla because it's not even a rail. It's literally just a bus on wheels. You can feel the wheels.
And it's EV, right?
Yeah, I think
I think it's EV. Yeah, it's definitely not gas.
So in that sense, I think it would be. I think there's just so many similarities where I see it as just like it's not that profound to me. It has good potential though, and especially for economics, because the other thing, kind of like Berto was saying, was the cost of like a subway train. I don't know what they are. Like probably $1 million, $3 million per car, because it's rolling stock is what they call it. So each one of those has to be designed by a company like Alstom, Bombardier, I think Samsung in Korea. All these big old companies, they have to design them to meet DOT standards. Because Tesla has already passed all of this because it's considered a road vehicle and it's not its own entity of public transportation, their requirements are so much lower, so their costs are lower.
And it's not like tunnels is a new thing. I mean, when I went to Denver once, I drove through a tunnel in the middle of a mountain. It was impressive to me. I mean, there's subways. I mean, none of this is new. It's just a simpler concept. It's just gonna have to go through its trials and hopefully develop into something big, and then maybe other cities will catch on to it or not. I think it's pretty neat. Just the thought of an underground tunnel straight to Vegas from LA or Phoenix or wherever.
So the general commenter tends to have a different point of view. I'm really thank you guys for your input. But it's interesting to hear your input versus like some of the comments that I've pulled out here. So
can I comment on that?
Yeah, please. Do you have a response to one of the comments you heard?
No, but in general, I do the same thing. I do read at comments, but I also try to gauge of, how many people are commenting into a positive way, how many people are commenting to a negative way, and then how many comments. Like some of these videos may have 10 comments. So, okay, so maybe 8 people are not liking it. I mean, it really depends. I mean, it's, there's gonna, as we know nowadays, there's gonna be thoughts of these concepts way far one way, way far another way, right?
Sure.
Obviously, there's going to be people from the tech background. Obviously, there's going to be people, respectively, maybe a less educational background, and maybe like, oh, this sounds, crazy. Or like put in, the historic portion. Maybe there's religious backgrounds, like in the 1800s, I'm going to go to hell if I go through this tunnel. It's like there's so many different ways it could go. I try to take it to, yes, okay, there's people not liking it. But that's great, I mean, there's people that doesn't like stuff all the time. Then when they try it, it's just like, oh, okay, this is not too bad. I just read something like that similar, like coworkers now now liking Teslas or something like that. I mean, it was a headline. I didn't read the whole story, but I should. I mean, take comments, as best as you can. Generally, if you're seeing 1,000 comments and like 800 of them are pretty negative, then yeah, that's maybe I don't know what is what is their goal. Maybe the people who actually support this don't have time to comment. They're
Very
too
well
busy
put.
creating the tech.
I'm
They're
going
too
to take
busy
the
creating the
football,
tech.
taking that football and running with it. Here's the other thing. Like on that note, Berto, is the forum, the venue, right? Where's this information being presented? It's on YouTube. YouTube is a public forum that is consumed by most people purely for entertainment, not for. Let's be honest. The average person that's it's purely like it's a smorgasbord, right? And you take whatever you want and whatever mood you're in. Nobody holds you accountable. It's not a formal venue. It's not a classroom setting. It's not an educational experience. It's not a work setting. It's not a religious place. So you have no reason to be accountable for how supportive you are or are not. And because so much content is designed to be to compete, it's all competitive, right? So it has to tailor to what makes people happy. So people are used to being pleased and being given stuff, right? So their mindset when they log into that venue is already going to be something of like a consumer mindset, or already something of a mindset of, did this make me laugh? Did this make me excited about something? Or just, do I care? Is this something I'm interested in? And if someone is not, because let's be honest, this is a technical thing. This is a technical, mechanical, it's transportation related. It's science. Some people don't care. Some people only care about pop culture.
Obviously, the Boring Company is Elon Musk's company. He's the one funding this and making these trials and trying to convince everyone, the public, politics, that this is a way of the future, right? And do you think that this is a way for Elon also to flex on his investors? Do you think that do you think that he's actually trying to really like change Berto, I see your face. You got something to say.
Oh man, yeah, I have plenty to say. Yeah, I have plenty. People, I wish you could just not see him as a high-end CEO or as a superstar. I wish people could just see him as a regular person. I wish I could meet him just like a regular person, like, hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you, and just move on. Because it's like, the way I see him is just I try to see these people in general, anybody, any big celebrity, as a regular person. I personally doubted Elon Musk. I personally have. During my college time, where I worked with a bunch of engineers. I was a pilot in training. There was a bunch of engineers in training that I worked with, and they were really excited about SpaceX. They were really excited about the electric car, and like, as an automotive background, I don't think it's gonna work. And I doubted. I literally doubted them. I didn't understood their excitement. And as Tesla grew, and as SpaceX grew, I stand to correct it pretty hard, pretty hard. Like how well, like when I started actually reading the numbers and how well the Model S was doing, and the whole concept of the basically expensive car, right? People with wealth will buy them, and it built the way for a cheaper car, right? And just that's the way the system works. SpaceX in general too. That was a big deal. I didn't understood it back then. I didn't understood it as a first private space company, but in 2010, people were putting parties together at Embry-Riddle just to watch the first private launch. It was a big deal.
What was the turning point for you? What was the turning point where you realized, okay, this guy's onto something for real?
For me, is actually going to Tesla's website and seeing all the charging stations and watching it grow like on a 6-month basis. Like you get to see, this was 2011-ish time frame. You get to see all the charging stations. Okay, there's a few, and then like 6 months later, okay, there's like 500 more, or coming soon, and then this much more. And if you ever opened that site lately, there's charging stations like you could drive a Tesla everywhere you go. He built the infrastructure. I don't think any of this is for wealth at all. I don't. I mean, obviously that's the benefit of it, but his mindset was kind of similar to mine, like childish video games, like scientific. The other thing that did it for me too was when they actually launched the Falcon Heavy and two of the rockets landed simultaneously. I was driving the kids home from school, and this was going on live, and I stopped the car and watched it, and I made them watch it live. It was a big deal, like to see that happen. Like back in my time, you only see that in video games. So it's like people, I see it scientifically, like how hard that could be, but he envisioned it, right? He made it cheaper. He wants, I think he knows enough to want to better the world more than increase his wealth. He's still a human being regardless. He's gonna make mistakes. He's gonna do different things, but that to me makes it even more authentic. That he is human. He's just like every one of us. But I don't I don't think he even has time to spend his wealth. To be honest, he spends so much time in the business and doing all these things for. I think it's cool. Honestly, I think he's just enjoying it and trying to make life better and enjoying life while trying to make life better for everybody else. It's my personal opinion. Maybe some people have seen the darker side of him, or maybe not, but that just makes him human. I mean, we all have a dark side. You haven't seen mine, but I could be.
Thank you, Berto. Very well put.